In this video, we're going to be talking about how to work beyond the print, meaning at this point in your design career, you know how to put graphics on, say, an 11 by 17 sheet of paper. But what can that piece of paper be converted into? What can it do? So we're going to talk about various approaches today. We are going to talk about some print ephemera. So some of those solutions could include trifold cards or greeting cards that are folded in half. This is what I call a spinner card. So basically just a small cut that allows a graphic that had been on the back of the card to be spun around and kind of brought onto the front. So that could be a solution. Another way to work beyond the print is to make a book. So this is an example of a book by Heather McCordy. It was finished in May of 2020. And basically this book is a document of her thesis work. But if you look at it, it's pretty interesting in its construction because it's actually a piece of paper. And through a series of folds, it becomes a book. To really play around with the potential of what a piece of paper can do. Some other solutions for this assignment could include wheat pasting, so designing something that can be repeated or attached to a wall. Another way you could approach this assignment is by creating a repeating pattern. One of the things that's great about this, working beyond the print, is that you can very quickly make a bunch of 11 by 17 prints with the same tiled element and then use that and install it as a wallpaper. So there's a lot of video tutorials that show you how to put a design in repeat. There's some mathematic principles that go into it. You have to really consider the edges of the page and make sure that they're going to line up with each other. But that might be a way to approach this assignment as well. If you've never made an immersive environment before, this might be a great assignment to try that out. You could also use a service like Spoonflower and have graphics that you've made be applied to fabric. Some vocabulary that I want to go over is this idea of 2 up versus, say, 4 up, something like that. So if you do go the road of making a greeting card, chances are you're going to be able to get your design what's called 2 up, meaning that you're going to be able to fit 2 copies on every sheet of paper. It's up to you if you want to make these 2 designs different or if you want them to be the same. If they are the same, then your yield is going to be double as much. So example, you only have to get 50 prints made if you want to do an addition of 100. Another vocabulary word that I want to go over for this lesson is grain direction. So every sheet of paper just naturally has a grain direction. And you really have to pay attention to that grain when you're working with analog print design. So if I was to take this sheet of paper and rock it this way, kind of feel what that curvature feels like, and then rock it this way, see how instantly this one wants to bounce back so much more, whereas this side was a lot easier to fold. So I actually know that the grain direction of this paper goes this way. So that's kind of unfortunate, right? If I was thinking that I was going to be able to do my cards 2 up, this is kind of proof otherwise because I really need to put the grain going parallel. Folds need to go parallel to this grain. And so I can really only get this card 1 up. The way to work around that would be to try to find a piece of paper where it's going grain long, and then I would truly be able to get 2 up on each of these 11 by 17s. You really want to pay close attention to craftsmanship detail like that, because if you're going to be investing many hours in design, refining, production, you don't want it to get to that last step and the whole spine of your card is all cracked and rough looking. It's really just not great practice. The next thing I want to talk about are crop and bleed marks. So you want to consider both crop and bleed when you're designing. So you want to, again, be focused on the physicality of these materials. So if I was to go and print this, I could make printer's marks here of all the 4 corners where I'm going to cut. But because these graphics extend fully off the page, I also have to include what's called bleed, meaning that in my actual InDesign document, I'm going to design these graphics so that they extend at least 1/8 of an inch beyond the edge of the page. What that now means is when a printer goes to cut it, or if you go to cut it yourself with X-Acto, you have this little bit of margin that you can move your ruler up and make a trim, and you don't run the risk that these graphics are going to get clipped off. Using wheat paste is by far my favorite form of graffiti. The reason being is that graffiti is illegal, and the wheat paste process is so reversible that just actual rain will take it off eventually. So the adhesive is just made of pure wheat starch. You cook it and mix it with water, and you can put it onto the back of paper, and it basically becomes a big sticker. Another approach could be to make a protest poster. So if there's something important that you want to comment on, so again, thinking about a sheet of paper, how it can carry an idea, how it can be transmitted to a community. So that might be an approach. I feel like I'm so awkward over here by myself.